Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing fine. So as promised, today we're going to talk about the scholarship opportunities to study in the United States. Um, so this is the title for today. I hope to give you as much information as I can, and at the end, be able to answer all of your questions. So this is the title for today's session. Okay, so the topics that we are going to cover in today's session are a general overview of admission in US colleges. So first of all, I'm going to give you a very general overview of how to get a scholarship in US and how does the admission process in the US works. And then the requirements for applying to US colleges, the things that you must have already with yourself in order to be able to fill your application and apply to a college. The third one is 4 factors of a successful college application, which are transcript, standardized scores, personal statement, and recommendation letters. So personally, I find these 4 factors as the most important factors in your application that can make you to succeed in getting admission in one of the scholarships and also qualify for financial aid. And then the next one is researching colleges. So we will just talk about how can you research your colleges, how you can find the perfect colleges for yourself, and then getting in touch with universities and colleges. We will also talk about how to get in touch with those universities, who are the people with whom you can get in touch, how can you use that opportunity or that platform, and like so on. And then the next one is important deadlines, deadlines which are very important if you want to apply for a bachelor's degree scholarship in the US, which you have to bear in mind and apply before you miss that. And then the other one is filling the Common App or Coalition App. So these are the platforms which are used in order to apply for scholarships in colleges in the United States. And we will just go with a brief introduction of them, and hopefully I'll also get to work online with them a little bit just to show you how it works. And then the last one is an interview. So once your application is filled and it is sent, if your university or college requires an interview, they will inform you about the interview, and we will also talk a little about the interview. Okay. So a general overview of US college admission process. How does the admission process go in the US? So as we know, it's very different from what we have in Afghanistan. So the first thing, your journey to getting a scholarship starts from researching about colleges. What you have to do is you have to research about colleges, which colleges you are going to apply to, which colleges you think you'll have good chances of getting accepted, and the colleges which, in case if you get accepted, you would like to actually attend them. And then the next one is preparing materials that are required for the college. So once you know which college you're going to apply, you will just prepare all of your materials and everything that is needed to fill out your application. And then the next one, we have apply through Common App or Coalition App. When you have all of the materials with yourself, you're just going to apply, fill in those forms, and then give the interview if required. Not all universities or colleges require interviews, but those ones that do require, you will actually have to go with the interview as well. So this is a very brief or a very general overview of how the college admissions work in the United States. And we will delve in deeper in them in the upcoming slides. Okay, so first of all, before applying to a US college or filling out the application, what you have to do is that you have to have all of the requirements, all of the documents, all of the scores that you need in order to be able to apply in the very first place. So some of the things that are very important, and I highly recommend you to already have them with yourself before actually trying to apply to a US college. These are, the first one is TOEFL score. For those of you, I believe most of you people are aware what a TOEFL score is. For those of you who are not aware, so TOEFL stands for Testing of English as Foreign Language. So TOEFL is basically a test that tests your proficiency in English language, and it is rated out of 120 scores. So I would highly recommend a score above 100. That will do great. But I would also recommend at the meantime that don't spend your so much time to get a score of like 117, 118. Because I have seen a lot of students who actually say that I want to score 117, 118 on the TOEFL. But honestly, you will not need that kind of score, you know? If you're able to score something above 100, that is great. You don't need to spend like 6 months on preparing for TOEFL just to get 117. Basically, a person who has 105 and a person who has 115, they both are like kind of like equal for the university. It only demonstrates that you're proficient with your English. And once you come to the college, you are able to understand all of the lectures. So that's what that matters. I would recommend you a score above 100. Don't waste so much time to get a score like 119, 118, 117. It would be good, but I don't think that's that much important, because it just shows that you're proficient with English, and that can also be demonstrated with a score of 105. The next one is SAT score. SAT stands for Scholastic Aptitude Test. So just like in Afghanistan, we have Concord score. In US, we have the SAT examination. So SAT, in the first place, when most of Afghan students hear about the SAT, they think because it's a Concord examination or something like it, it may be very difficult. But if you think about it, it's not actually that difficult. The SAT has 3 parts. It has a reading part, a writing part, and a math part. The math is not that advanced. You will not see calculus on the math section. It is just basic probability, statistics, ratios, and things like that. Very basic concepts of mathematics. So yeah, the math part is not that difficult. For the reading and the writing part, it is a bit difficult, and you'll probably have to prepare for them. There's also an alternative to SAT in case if you do not want to give your SAT test, you can give ACT, that is ACT. You can give that test. That's also similar to SAT. The difference is that with the SAT, the math part is more difficult than the reading and the writing part. With the ACT, the reading and the writing parts are more difficult than the math part. And for more international students, we highly recommend to go with SAT score because the English part on SAT is not actually that difficult as ACT, and that might be helpful for them. And then the next one is SAT subject tests. Now, this one is not required to take, but in case if you choose to attend a college that requires you to take SAT subject tests, you will also have to give those exams as well. So what SAT subject tests are, they are SAT examination, but they are more specific or more narrowed down to one particular subject. For example, we have ACT subject test in biology, ACT subject test in chemistry, in physics, and like this, so on. And which ones you will decide to take, it depends on the major that you would like to pursue once you're in college. For example, somebody who wants to study biochemistry might want to give SAT subject tests in biology and chemistry. But again, these tests are not mandatory, they are not compulsory. You will only have to take them if your college requires them. And then the next one is personal statement, which we also call motivation letter. So with personal statement, what it is that a personal statement is a letter which you write to demonstrate yourself as a person. All of the other factors of your application will tell, like your scores, how you performed inside the class, your academic achievements. But personal statement is the only platform which you can demonstrate yourself as a person. What kind of a person are you? If you come to that college or campus, what would you contribute to that college or campus? What do you want to become in the future? Why do you want to study this particular subject? So basically, all of those things will be in personal statement. So personal statement is a platform between you and the college where you can demonstrate yourself as a person. Okay, so the next one, we have recommendation letters. Recommendation letters are letters that are written by your high school teachers. Since we are talking about scholarship opportunities for bachelor's degree, I assume that you will need it from high school teachers. Your high school teacher will basically write about what kind of a student you were inside the class, and how did you contribute, how did you make a difference inside your class. This is basically to see you in the eyes of an adult, because most people applying for colleges in the US will be people like people who are young. So they want to see your personality, how you deal with things in the perspective of an adult. And then the last one is your high school transcript. So you will basically need the grades for your 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So in Afghanistan, we basically call it Shahadat Nama. You will need that as well. If you have the official one with yourself, very good. You can directly apply. If you have the unofficial, because this is the case that most of students encounter, if you have the unofficial one, what you can do is that you can just go and talk to your admission counselor, talk to them, get in touch with them that I have my unofficial scores, but I'm able to get my official scores soon. In that case, some universities are flexible. They do accept it. In that case, you can just submit your unofficial scores, and then after a month or a few weeks later, you can just submit them your official scores. But the point is that you, at the end, you will actually have to submit your official transcript. Otherwise, they will not take the unofficial one. Okay, so 4 parts of a successful application. For me personally, what I thought helped me a lot and what played a very important role in my application are these 4 areas. So the first area is your high school transcript scores, academic experience, and publications. So what do we actually mean is that the first part is transcript scores, okay, your Shahadat Nama. The second is academic experiences. This actually includes your extracurricular activities. In Afghanistan, most students who are like very good with their academics, very good with classes, academically, they are very strong. But if they do not have any extracurricular activities, it can hurt them a little bit in that area. You should have extracurricular activities. And then publications. What do you mean by publications is that in case if you have written an essay, an article, a poem that was published by a newspaper, that was published somewhere, you can just state all of them. So basically, the first area is your extracurricular activities, which you did during high school, your transcript, and your publications. It will make up to like 30% of your application. So a very important part. It's good to pay close attention to that. And then the second part, which is very important, is that your standardized test scores. So the standardized tests that you will have to take are the TOEFL. For the US, you will have to go with the TOEFL. And then SAT or ACT, one of them, whichever one you're more comfortable with. And then we have subject tests, ACT subject tests. In the same way, you can also take ACT subject tests. Depends on which one you're more comfortable with. So I don't think if I have to tell more about the importance of standardized test scores. I assume most of you people know how important they are. So this also makes something around at 30% of your application. And then the third one is your personal statement or your motivation letter. So with personal statement, I would highly, highly, highly recommend students to spend as much time as you can on it. I have seen some students who only spend around a week on their personal statement, and they say that, okay, I have spent a week, that's a lot of time. But no, it is not. You at least have to spend something of like 5 months on your personal statement if you really want to write something good. If you really want to write something that is impressive, that can fascinate the admission counselors, the admission officers, you will actually have to spend a lot of time, like at least 5 months before your deadline. You have to spend that much time and try to write it. Once you have actually written your personal statement, you will also have to send it to people who can review it for you. You can send it to a native English speaker, send it to them and ask them if they can review it for you. Otherwise, you can also send it to somebody who is good with English. You can ask them to review your personal statement and have their feedback. So when it comes to how to write a personal statement, the topic is actually very wide. If I talk about it right now, it will take me more than 1 hour, maybe 2 hours. So it is very important. At the meantime, it's very detailed. For me personally, what I did was with my personal statement was that there is this one particular book that I have referenced it there. The name is College Essay Essentials. I went and I read that book, and it really helped me a lot. So the book's name is College Essay Essentials, a step-by-step guide to writing a successful college admission essay by Ethan Sawyer, also known as the College Essay Guide. So Ethan Sawyer also has a website where he gives information about how to write personal statements. If you're interested, you can also go on his website and research how to write a personal statement. He has a lot of good tips, but I would highly recommend his book, College Essay Essentials. Read that book. It basically tells you how to write personal statement, what are the important things that you have to include in it, and all of those stuff. So once you are done with your personal statement, you have to think of your recommendation letters. So compared to your high school transcript, standardized scores, and personal statement, recommendation letters have like a fewer part in your admission, but still it's important because it still comprises 10% of your application. So recommendation letters, you have to spend more time on them as well. With Afghanistan, usually the case is that students will have to write their personal statement by themselves. In the meantime, they'll write their recommendation letters by themselves, because most of the teachers that we have in Afghanistan, they are not willing, or they don't know, they are not familiar with recommendation letters. So you will have to write your recommendation letters as well by yourself. Again, how many recommendation letters you will have to write depends on your college. Some colleges require 1, some colleges require 2, but I don't think if they will require more than that. So another thing that's very important here, and I want to point out, is that some students who write their personal statements and their recommendation letters by themselves, what they do is that they kind of like repeat information. For example, in their personal statement, they will say that I have done this, which proves that I'm a hardworking person. And then in the recommendation letter, they will also repeat the same information. I would highly recommend you to avoid repeating information. Use that platform to give more and more information, to give new information about yourself instead of giving repeated information. For example, in your personal statement, you can talk about your social life, how you deal with people and stuff like that. And then in the recommendation letter, you can talk about your academic life. Try to cover yourself from different points of view. So that will help you to create a better profile for yourself, which the colleges will review. Okay, so these are the 4 parts of a successful application. And then okay, so that was an overview of the admission process in US colleges. So now if somebody who is straight out of high school and wants to apply to colleges in the US, where do they start from? So you will start from researching colleges. So how do you research colleges and how do you choose your colleges? When choosing your colleges, you have to ask these questions. So the questions are not limited to these. It can be more than this as well. It depends on what are your priorities. What are the things that you would like your university or your college to have? So these questions, an example of them are, does the university offer the program you want to study? It's very important to make this one that the university has the program that you want to study. For example, if somebody wants to study engineering and the university that they have in the US does not offer that program, then it doesn't make sense for them to attend that college or university. And then, do they accept international students? So you have to research this part and make sure that they also offer financial aid to international students. And then the third one is the university's acceptance rate. So acceptance rate is the amount of students that they accept out in percentages. So I have seen some universities that their acceptance rates are very low. For example, they have 5% acceptance rate, 10% acceptance rate. So in case, if you're aiming for one of those universities, I would recommend you to, at the meantime, have some safety options as well. If you're applying to, let's say, Stanford, which their acceptance rate might be something of like less than 5%. At the meantime, I would recommend you to apply to other colleges as well, which have a higher acceptance rate. For example, apply to a college which has an acceptance rate of above 50%, above 40%, and things like that, so that you have safety options as well. Because in case if you do not get accepted in your first colleges, with low acceptance rates, you have other colleges that you can use as support. And then the other one is, do they offer financial aid to international students? So financial aid is one of the most important factors because education in the US is so expensive, and almost like all of the international students, they need financial aid and scholarships. So you also have to research these. Do they give scholarships to international students, or they do not? So very important factor. And then the last one is the state where the university is located. What kind of a place do you want to live in, basically? Do you want to live in a place where the weather is warm, where there are a lot of people, or a place where the weather is cold with less population and stuff like that? So I personally, the website that I used for my information or for researching colleges was the US News. So this is a very nice website. If you go and search a college, you will basically find all of the information that you need. You will find the university's ranking, their acceptance rate, their application, and stuff like that. So everything you need to know, you can find it through that website. But in the meantime, I would also say that it is not limited to that particular website. It was just my personal experience with that website. But if you have any other website in mind, or if you find a website that works better for you, then you can definitely go with that one. Okay, so once you have researched your college and you know which colleges you're going to apply to, you have to get in touch with admission counselors. So you must also bear in mind that admission counselor for a student in US is different from an admission counselor for international students. So you can go on the college's website and search who the admission counselor for international students is in that particular college. And once you have found that, you actually can get in touch with them. You can email them and introduce yourself and ask them questions that you have about that particular college. At the meantime, you can also request them to have Zoom meetings with you. I personally remember when I was working on my application, one of the sources that helped me a lot with my application was my admission counselor. I usually requested her to set a Zoom meeting with me, and I would just go ask her questions such as campus safety, and their financial aid and things like that. So yeah, admission counselors are the most reliable sources that you can use to get information and also guide you through this whole process. So use them wisely. You can email them, and you can, at the meantime, request them for meetings. Important deadlines. So when you're applying to a college in US, there are different types of application. It depends on you which one you want to choose. So the first one is early decision and early action. Early decision, what it means is that you apply to a college, and if you get accepted in that college, then you will 100% have to attend that college. For example, if you apply to a college, if you apply to 4 colleges and you get accepted to like 2 of them, you will have to attend the one which you have applied with early decision. Early decision deadlines are usually very early. They are usually in October or November. So you also have to research this on the college's website, when is their early decision, or whether you will apply with early decision or not. You have to determine that. Well, why do people apply with early decision? The benefit of applying with early decision is that the acceptance rate with early decision is higher than a regular decision. So somebody who applies with an early decision to a particular college, that college prioritizes them. And if the acceptance rate is something of around 40%, then for that particular person, it will be 50%, 60% higher than what regularly it is. And then the next one is early action. Early action is also, the deadline is in October or November. You will have to research that in college's website because it differs for every college. So with early action, you will apply to that particular college. And the difference with the other type of with early decision is that you are not binded, you are not limited. In case if you get accepted, okay, cool, you can attend that college. But you also don't have to, it's not compulsory for you. The benefit of early action is that you will get your results earlier. If you apply in October or November, the early action, the results come out pretty quick. It is usually in December or January. and you can know about your result early. And then the other one is a regular decision. A regular decision is basically the one that most of people go with. The deadline is usually in December or January in the US. You can basically research that as well on the college's website. And yeah, so it's basically the common way of applying, but those two, the other ones, early decision and early action, they are kind of like exceptions. And with regular decisions, if you apply in December and January, the result will come out in May, around May or April or something like that, and you will know about the result of your application. Okay, so now we're to the Common App. So assume that you have researched your college, you have got all the information that you need, you have researched the college's website, you know which kind of application you're going with. The next thing that's more important is, the most important is the Common App. So what is the Common App? The Common App is basically a platform which you can use in order to apply to colleges. So there are a lot of colleges that accept Common App. If you go to their website, they will mention that the way of applying to that particular college is through Common App. But Common App is not the only one. The other one is Coalition App, which I had mentioned earlier. You can also use Coalition App to apply to colleges. So how do you find which one to use? It depends again on your college. Some colleges accept Common App, some colleges accept Coalition App, or some colleges even accept both of them. So it depends on your college and your personal choice. I personally used the Common App. I find it a good way of applying. It's easy to use. And at the meantime, it gives you a lot of options to express yourself in different ways. And yeah, and also I believe they both are kind of like the same. So today, later at the end of the presentation, we will go with a very brief overview of how to use the Common App. But I believe they both are basically the same. It might be a little bit different, but they both serve the same purpose. Okay, so as you can see here, more than 900 colleges in the United States, they accept Common App. But the other ones, they can accept Coalition App, or they might also have their own separate application. Okay, so once you have filled the Common App application and you have submitted your application, you will come to the interview part. Now, not all colleges require you to go with an interview, but some colleges actually do. With me personally, with my admission process, I did not have to go with an interview because my college did not require that. But in case if your college does, then you will have to go. So what the purpose of the interview is to assess you as a person, as an individual. Colleges in the US, they do not only care about your academic performance, they also care about who are you as a person, as an individual, as a personality. Who are you? How do you serve the society? What changes do you want to bring in the world and in your society? Are you an action taker or not? Do you have a bright future or not? Things like that. They want to assess all of those through interview. They may ask questions to assess your personality, such as describe a situation in which you faced a problem. How did you deal with that problem? And stuff like that. So it's basically the main purpose again. It is to assess you as an individual and determine when you come to their college, will you be successful? Can you continue with your college? So yeah. Okay, so that was the presentation. Now, moving forward, we will go with the Common App. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to sign in my Common App account and see if I can show you guys in person how to use it. Okay. So can you guys see my screen?
I can see it, yes.
Okay, cool. So here we have our Common App website. Here in we have my college section. The dashboard section is basically the section that gives information about your application, which universities you have submitted your application, whether the deadline is due or not, and things like that. And then the next section is my colleges. So my colleges basically tells you the list of colleges that you have chosen to apply to. For me personally, there's only one which says University of Florida. I just chose that to as a demonstration when I was like researching, because it's a long time I have not used this app. So I had to like go before the session so that I'm familiar with it. And then the common app, we have the common app section. This is the part when it will show you the application of that particular college. Now you see this particular website that I have right now with myself. This is the application for University of Florida. You can see all of the different sections there. Your profile is basically questions about yourself. And then we have family, information about your family. Why do they ask about your family? The reason is that they want to see your financial aid, whether if you get accepted, will you be able to give all of the expenses, to be able to afford all of the expenses involved with your education, or you will need financial aid from the college. And then the other one is the education section, and then the testing section, which I believe is the standardized test scores. And then your activities. Your activities is basically the activities that you have done outside of school. And then writing. Writing is the part where you will have to submit your essays. Okay, this part we have college search. Besides the US News, Common App is also another good platform to use in order to research for colleges. For example, let's say I will research about Florida State. Okay, Florida State University, for example. You will just search the name of the college and it will just lead you to there. And you can see the colleges or the university's profile here. The phone, the email, what are the deadlines, application deadlines, application information. Now see, this college requires something of like around $30 for international students. So what you have to do is that if you want to pay that application fee, good. But if you don't want to pay that, you can send that college an email asking the admission counselor for an application fee waiver. If you cannot afford that money, you can just send them an email, ask them to waive that requirement for you. And it also depends on the university whether it will waive it or not. Some universities, they're very flexible with it. They will not have any problem. They will waive it for you. But there are other universities as well that may not accept that. So it also, again, it depends on your college. And then standardized test policy, which standardized tests they require, recommendation letters, and then additional information. And then we have writing requirements. So with writing requirements, they ask you about the essays. So first of all, it's the Common App personal essay, which is basically the personal statement that we talked about earlier. And then college questions, additional details. So there are some colleges that will require other questions as well, besides to the essay that you have to write. And you should also research this as well earlier and try to prepare solid answers for them. The questions are usually something of like, describe an activity that you like the most. Why do you like that activity? And things like that. So for example, if I like, okay, what was the name of the college? University of Florida State University. If I'm interested in this particular college, then what I will do is I will add it to my college. Okay, so now it's added to my college. And if I go back to my college section, then Florida State University is there. I can just click on it and it will give me the information. What are the questions that the university asks, recommendation letters, and then review and submit Common App and things like that. So basically you will get all of the information that you need through the Common App. So yeah, that was it. I hope I was able to answer I was able to give you an overview of how the Common App actually works. So I think we will just move on with the question section now.